Hi, I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins, excuse me, from yourblackworld.net. I just woke up. That's why my voice sounds a little hoarse. But, the funniest thing is I sometimes wake up and I just have these thoughts that I want to share. And typically, I write about what I'm thinking, but then sometimes I just do a video. Maybe the video bug is hitting me again. I did TV yesterday, and I don't like to do a lot of TV, but, every now and then I'll jump in there. Here's the thing. I was reading. I went to Michael Baisden's page, and I love Michael Baisden. You might have seen. I wrote an article about him when he went through his unfortunate negotiations with his radio network, and I just thought he handled it like a pro. I think Baisden is very, very smart, very conscientious. He does a lot for the black community, and that's why I respect him. And one of the things I saw on his page was he talks about relationships a lot, and I don't really get into relationships as much. Although I think that that how we manage our relationships is an important part of sustaining the black family, because families come from relationships, right? And so I dabble in it, I study it, I try to figure things out. In fact, I wrote a book called Financial Lovemaking, and I'm actually doing some various projects with St. Brown, who's a relationship therapist who graduated from Columbia University. She's with Jet Magazine now. She's the senior entertainment director. And anyway, so we talk about relationships a lot. Now, let me give you some background in terms of explaining why I'm even talking about relationships in general. Okay, Baisden's comment on his fan page was he had a person that sent him a question, and the woman basically asked, she said something about, I think she said she's 52, she's single, and she's lonely, and she wonders if it's time to settle. It makes her want to settle. And Basin's response was very direct, and it said, when it comes to settling, you should never settle. It's better to be single and lonely than to be lonely in a relationship. Now, I thought that was interesting. I thought about that, and I said, I wonder if that advice could be tweaked a little bit. I'm not going to say it's incorrect advice, because in some cases, in a lot of cases in life, you know me, I'm not big on settling in general. But I think that what we might want to think about is this. There's a difference between settling and compromising. I think that the best way to kind of help you understand where I'm coming from with this is understand my background. My background's in finance and economics, so I think of a lot of things as markets. So you can think of the dating market the same way you think about the job market, or the financial market, or the market for used cars, or whatever the case may be. Wherever there's a place where people trade, buyers and sellers come together and do a transaction, that's a market. So in dating, there is a market. That's why sites like Match.com and other sites exist, because they bring women together with men, or men with men and women with women, whatever people are looking for. And they say, hey, here's somebody who has something to offer you. What do you have to offer them? Let's see if there's a match. And so different people try different options, and then they finally decide, okay, you're right where I want you to be, and I'm right where you want me to be. So we're going to make a trade. So I'm going to trade my stuff for your stuff, whatever that stuff is. I'm not here to judge that. So here's the thing. When I think about, I guess, settling versus compromising, I think that one of the things that we have to really think about is that sometimes if you tell someone never settle, you may be giving them bad advice. It depends on the situation. For example, imagine if I'm going into another market, like a job market, and I say to my friend, I don't have a high school diploma, I don't have any work experience as an engineer, but I'm looking for a job as an engineer that will pay me $400,000 a year, and I don't want to settle. Well, is it good advice for you to say to that person, well, don't settle, don't ever settle, never settle? Well, no, I don't know if it's good advice, because by telling that person to never settle, you're basically setting them up for failure for the rest of their life. They're going to constantly spend their time barking up the wrong tree, constantly looking for something that doesn't exist, constantly looking for opportunities that may not be a fit for what they have to offer the market. And so I think dating can be looked at in the same way. Sometimes you have people that have expectations that are just out of control. I mean, literally, whether it's a woman or a man, looking for a superwoman or a superman, somebody who will give me everything I want, exactly the way I want it, whenever I want it, however I want it, just by me asking for it. and they have to, the person has to look a certain way and act a certain way and have so much money and this, that, and the other, and so the person constantly goes back to the market, like that person looking for a job, and they don't understand. I'm looking for jobs. I've gone on 1,000 job interviews, but nobody's hiring me. I'm not finding anything. And so when that person comes back and says, well, I don't know. I mean, should I settle? I really don't want to settle. When I go look for a job, I don't know if it makes sense to say to the person, you should never settle. I think a better piece of advice would be to say either A, how bad do you want a job? If you go back to the example of the guy who has no education, who's looking to make $400,000 a year, then you got to tell him, look, number one, either you have to choose a job that's going to pay a little less, maybe something in your range, 50,000 maybe, something like that, because 400,000 might be out of the question. Number two, you could also say to the person, look, if you want to make 400,000 a year, you can, but you're going to have to go to school. You're going to have to work and get your game tight. You're going to have to get some experience. You're going to have to pay your dues. You're going to have to maybe start your own business or whatever in order to get your income to the level that you want it to be. And I think that when it comes to the dating market, the same analogy can be applied. When somebody's looking for something that isn't quite in their price range, if you will, or isn't quite a fit for what they have to offer, then you can either say to the person, look, there are lots of guys. You might say to a woman, for example, that you've met 100 guys, and these guys have things to offer. They don't look like Idris Elba. They don't have $1 million in the bank, but so-and-so was a good-looking guy. So-and-so was a nice guy. So-and-so was a smart guy. Maybe there's something you can work with there, or maybe you have to accept the fact that you're not going to get that perfect package that you're looking for. But on the flip side, you can also say to that person, you can say, hey, look, if you want a certain caliber of person on the dating market, or you want a certain type of relationship, work on your game. Maybe you can be a little nicer. Maybe you can be a little more patient in your relationships. Maybe you can drop it like it's hot in the bedroom. Maybe you can go to the gym and lose some weight, or look a little better, or learn some tactics on how to catch the person that you're looking for. And this isn't gender specific. I'm not talking about women catching men. I'm talking about people catching people. Whatever it is, whatever market you're in, whatever you're looking for. I think that there's a big difference, and this is something we go into a lot with Financial Lovemaking, Tia and I. Because we kind of think of dating as a market. We think about the fact that there's a lot of correlations between how we think about money and how we think about love, and it's actually a fun topic to discuss. And one of the things that I think we have to accept is that sometimes there may not be a fit between what you're bringing to the table and what you're expecting to get off of the table. And I can just think of one good example I knew of. I had a friend who was a single woman for a long time, and she was actually very pretty. And she met a lot of men. She probably went on maybe 100 dates a year. Not 100, maybe 40, something like 40, 50. I'm not exaggerating. I don't want to exaggerate. And, and she would either not meet the guy she was looking for, or she would start relationships and they would always fail. They always failed. And I remember hearing, and I didn't really get involved with it. I didn't want to get into trying to tell people how to live their life per se. But I would hear one of her friends tell her, it's not your fault. It's not your fault. Don't settle. It's not your fault. And I remember thinking, and this was in my 20s, and I remember thinking, that might be really bad advice, because this girl's miserable. She's incredibly unhappy. She's not getting what she wants out of life. Maybe she should compromise a little bit. Not so much settle, but maybe one of these 200 men that she's dated has some redeemable qualities that she might be able to work with. Maybe the way she enters the relationships might require a little more patience, because you ever see that? You ever see people that have a short trip switch, where it's the minute anything's wrong, the person's gone. The minute that she says something he doesn't like, she's gone. The minute that something happens that makes him uncomfortable, he's gone. The minute that she doesn't give him exactly what he wants when he wants it, he's gone. Well, I think there are people who do that in relationships, and I don't think you can go through life like that. I mean, imagine if people started medical school and the minute they had a rough day, they dropped out. They would never finish anything. Right? People finish medical school because they decide, I want to be a doctor, so they stick with it, and they push and they go through and they get it done. And there is a point where they have to settle. They may want to go to Harvard Medical School, but they may not be able to get in, so maybe they go to the University of Kansas. But once they're there, they decide, look, this is not the ideal situation that I might have hoped for in the beginning, but this is one that I can work with. This is one that where if I approach it with love, with nurturing, with energy, with consistency, with passion, with determination, I can really make this into something good. And I think love is kind of the same way. I think that initially you meet somebody and you're looking for that perfect package and you're judging that person on superficial attributes. But there's a point where you say, okay, I'm compromised. I'm set now. This is the one I'm going to pick. And this is not the ideal person I'd be with. I'd want to be with. Maybe I'd rather date Beyonce. I was waiting for Beyonce to become single, but she's not single. So, but I've got this woman here. So I'm just going to work with this, and I'm going to do my best and make it work and compromise and work hard and be persistent and make this relationship last. And so I think that that analogy applies very well. So I think that when people ask, should I settle? There's no right or wrong answer to that. That's another thing we learn in finance and in economics is that most questions do not have a yes or no answer. Most questions in markets usually end with the words, it depends. So if somebody says, should I settle? The answer is not yes or no. The answer is it depends. Tell me about your situation, and I'll tell you if I think that maybe you might be pushing for a little bit too much, or maybe based on your need for a relationship, you might want to make some adjustments, either to accept something a little bit lower than the standard that you might have wanted before, and just work with that and make it what make the situation what you want it to be, or make yourself better for the market. Either way, if there's a disconnect between what you're bringing to the table and what you're trying to get from the table, so let me do it like this, then you're not going to get what you want. You're going to always be frustrated. You're going to always be looking for something that doesn't exist for you. You're always going to be wondering why things are not working out for you and they're working out for everybody else. And that's just my 2 cents. So I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from Your Black World. If you're interested in knowing more of my thoughts on love and relationships in life, I am human, and I think economic analysis works very, very well when it comes to studying relationships. You can check out my book, Financial Lovemaking. You can get it at the store. The website is store.yourblackworld.net, so you can take a look. And Tia Brown and I are going to actually do a lot more with financial lovemaking. We actually enjoy talking about the topic, so you'll hear more from me on this in the future. So until we meet again, please stay strong, be blessed, and be educated. I am gone. Peace.